Welcome back, Dolphins fans. This is going to be another mock draft that we have. This one, I'm just not making any trades at all. I'm just picking exactly where our spots are. And I think that, honestly, the first round pick is going to set the tone. And with this draft, where we're at 13, you have so many possibilities that you could do, and even without trading, we're at a spot where we could take the best player available, whoever slips and slides from those first 10 picks. We could pick and have a good solid player coming into this year, and that's what we'll get into. So we'll get into it. All right, so with this mock draft, I want to kind of get away from trades a little bit and just take where we're at, just so we can see. So at this point, the reality is if Tetro McMillan is here, I understand some people are sitting there saying he's not a speed guy. So I'm pretty sure when Mike McDaniel was in San Francisco, not every dude was a speed dude. Best player available wow, this is a really good draft. Well, Tetro McMillan is there. Totally get it. Great. But with the 13th pick, if you have, Cam Ward going here, Shadur Sanders going here, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter going to the Patriots, holy crap, that's crazy. Jacksonville gets Ashton Genty, Will Campbell, Mason Graham is over here, Jahdae Barron, Matthew Golden going to the Saints, Tyler Warren, Jahad Campbell, and Mykel Williams. The reality of the situation is I've been since the beginning. If this dude is here, this is your pick. You don't need to trade. You don't need to do anything if he's here. So the Dolphins are going to be in a spot where they can take best player available. This is going to be, some people are going to be drafting for need over here, but they're kind of in a good spot at 13. And right now, like I said, if Armand Membo's there, that's the pick. If he's not there, then you kind of have to do a little finagling and all that, but he's the pick if he's there at 13. So we're in the second round. I've done a couple of trades at this point. I think you stay at this spot. You have a decent amount of players. Siobhan Revel, it's just he played at a lesser conference, so it's kind of tough to want to think of him. He's going to be one of those guys that is a project player. The second round, is going to be one of those days where these guys are going to be potential, and you got to make a good pick here. This is going to be the key. At 13, you can get a guy that can immediately start, but this draft, you want to get someone in the second round that's going to come out and, be able to play, be able to make a contribution on this team. When you're thinking about this, obviously we need corner. So Trey Amos is there. I like Trey Amos. I think he can be a very good corner. I think, when you're thinking of this, honestly, Siobhan Revel and Trey Amos, Maxwell Hairston. You got a pick of corners. If this ends up going, we probably got to pick a corner in this draft. So what I'm saying right now, you got these three right here. If you like Princely, then maybe you can go after him. But, linebackers, we're pretty much set. We don't need a linebacker. We don't need... And I'm not saying draft for need, but the best players available at this second round right now are typically going to be corners and safeties, but mostly corners. The second round, there's a lot of second round corners that you can pick. There's those four. You got Darian Porter, later on, you got pretty much a corner defensive medley you have going here. It's just going to be based upon who's your favorite. Siobhan Revel, like I said, he's 6'3", but I think he's going to be a project player. I think he's one of those that he's going to be, coming off a torn ACL, and I kind of don't want to pick that, this draft, we're not picking players that are coming off of injuries. Trey Amos and Maxwell Hairston, I think, are big possibilities. I like Trey Amos a lot. Maxwell Hairston, at this point, like I said, I think you got to pick the best player available. Benjamin Morrison's another one if you like him. But I think the pick here, you got to go Trey Amos. I think he's going to be the guy that, you can, out of all four of these, this is the guy that you can plop and give yourself a cornerback to start out, like straight up off the bat, and move Cater around. I think he's going to be the one that has the highest floor and, learning under Jalen Ramsey, can definitely become a QB1. So I think you got to take Trey Amos. I think he's got good length, good everything, good floor for, the pick. So obviously a lot of my drafts, you've seen me take Makuba. I think, honestly, most likely he's the pick here. So Andrew Makuba's there. I typically take him just because I like Andrew Makuba as a safety. I think he's going to be a very good safety. I think, like I said, I think if you draft him, he's going to really take over that safety spot. I think he'll outplay some of the players that we've picked up, the Lions guy. But, in this third round, without trading, there's some players that you can definitely think of. Harold Fannin, if you want an explosive tight end, if you want Jonnu Smith Jr., that's basically what he is. Even if you're thinking about receiver, Kyle Williams is there. And then on top of all that, Deion Walker, you have that interior guy. And here's what I think. I think with the type of players that we have, and like I said, I've taken some of these other guys. I think Deion Walker, you're going to get a very high potential guy. He definitely has the tangibles to become something. So, like I said, I always pick Makuba. I really do think that Makuba is the pick. And probably when I do my final draft, like the official one before the draft, probably going to get Makuba if he's still there. I think he's just the pick for the Dolphins. I think you have to get, best player available, and that's Makuba. Fannin, I've also, at that point. But like I said, I think Deion Walker's there. You definitely try and maybe go and snag an interior guy with a lot of potential. So, but like I said, I'm definitely, in the fourth round, Billy Bowman's there. I think, if you want a safety, or maybe you wait till next year and grab yourself, because you have a couple of young safeties. Billy Bowman, though, is there. You got a couple players, Barrett Carter, Kyle Williams, for some reason, is slipping all the way to the fourth round. Jaden Blue is somebody that is an interesting pick because, honestly, when the guy that's on the Falcons came out, this guy was supposed to take over and do something pretty good, but he had an all right year. He didn't have the greatest year, but he was supposed to be, another high potential dude that was going to be the next guy. So he's there. Gunnar Helm, not taking him. Ashton Gillott, somebody that you could be interested in. Just, high potential guy. 6'3", 275. I think if you're taking best player available, I think he's probably it. And yeah, honestly, best player available, Ashton Gillott. I think I'm taking best player available. I think you get your pass rusher. And at this point, we oh, there it is. At this point, we have a lot of our stuff covered. You have Membo, he's going to probably transition to guard. You have Amos that's going to take over that second corner spot. You have Deion Walker, that'll be that space eater. You have another defensive lineman that has a lot of potential in Ashton Gillott. So now you're just kind of picking, either whoever's the top that's on your list or, best player available. And at this point, Kyle Williams slipping all the way to this round. Kyle Williams, I don't know why he slipped in this draft, but if this is the thing, maybe it's because it's a glitch because they don't have information on him or something. I don't know. Kyle Williams is supposed to be a second round pick. At this point, Billy Bowman is here. I think Billy Bowman is that box safety type of dude that, I don't know. I just don't see it. I think he's going to be a decent player, probably will be even a backup, but I think maybe you take the best player available, one of these guys. But I think, honestly, if we're in the fourth round, you're going to see all of this. You got a lot of running backs. Brashard Smith, is someone that you could be interested in. But at this point, you already drafted Jalen Wright last year. Chase Lund is there. It's just he played for, a smaller school, so I don't really trust that. So, really at this spot, without any trades, when's the next pick that we have? We're going to be up here. So, yeah, if we're doing this, you're picking best player available. I'm taking Kyle Williams. You get a very high end receiver that can definitely make a difference. And I think with the 5th pick, this is a very good spot to be in right now, because you got Mitchell Evans and you're Rosick. You have, if you wanted a running back, you have Khalil Mullings. He's pretty decent. Tyler Barron, if you want another edge rusher that has a lot of potential. Simeon Barrow is another option that you could possibly think of right here. I guess somebody got, Chase Lund. Somebody got, they reached for Luke Kandra. Oh man, that's kind of who I was going for with this. So these guys, we can wait till the later. We'll probably reach for one of either Connor Colby or Tyler Cooper. And so at this point, Trevor Etienne is not bad either. But like I said, you have Jalen Wright. Probably just pick up a veteran running back later on. I think, at this point, Simeon Barrow is a guy that I truly do believe has a decent potential as well. If you look at his stats, I think he had close to, what was his stats this year? 7 sacks as an interior defensive lineman on a crap defense. So when you're in this spot, honestly, I think you either take one of the two guys from the University of Miami. Tyler Barron had 10 sacks. He was pretty impressive this year. He's been impressive his whole entire career. He's got the size, the strength, everything, And I think with the right coaching, one of these two guys can be someone that you really, can see possibly making a difference. And I'm biased as a University of Miami fan. So what I'm thinking here is, they both have really high potential, man. They both do, They both have extremely high potential. Ugh. What do we do here? What do we do? Which one do we pick? That's tough. Man. Because I think, it's one of these two. All right, who are we doing? Who are we doing? I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards Simeon. But see, here's the thing. Like, Tyler Barron has gotten better every single year. So is Simeon. This is a tough pick, but I think highest potential, I think you go Tyler Barron. Yeah, somebody picked up. Yeah, who got Simeon? Yeah, Simeon went to the Bengals. Yeah, and when's the next pick that we have? It's not for a while, so I'm going to reach on someone. You got all these offensive players. I think Kyle Williams is sufficient enough. So I'm going to reach and go and grab Connor Colby. I think he's going to be a pretty decent floor guy, can definitely do some things. Yeah, I think I'm either going to reach on Tyler Cooper or Connor Colby. Both of them look pretty decent. Where are we at? We're at 155. I think it's one of those two. Who do I like better? 6'6". They're... Damn, son. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go Connor Colby. I think Tyler Cooper is good. His stance is too stiff. Yeah, I'm going to go Connor Colby. Now at round 5, you just get players that you think can possibly get on the field. So the receivers are going to be crazy around here. It's going to be a lot of receivers. In round 7, who do we get that's going to be a possibility? I think Malachi Moore, out of all the players, I think if you're going to pick someone that can possibly get on the field in the 7th round, it's in Crawford. It's just he went to a smaller school, and he's 5'11". I'm not really trying to grab that. Yeah, I think the pick here is R.J. Mickens. No. I think you got to get safety here. Someone just take the role as a safety. Yeah, I would pick R.J. Mickens. I think you're just going to get a tackling guy that can come out there and he can possibly, make some plays, I think you definitely get someone that... Oh, I forgot we have a second. So, yeah, then I would just go... Bo Collins is somebody. Oh, there we go. That's my pick. Timothy McKay. And I forgot we have another one. This is the last one. Nope. Where did all these picks come from? We have 4 7th-round picks? Holy crap. Raheem Sanders is someone that can just bulldoze his way into the end zone. 6 foot, 230, big buddy. I think now you're grabbing special teams. You want to draft Shiloh Sanders. Yeah, this one, you're just kind of picking for special teams at this point. See if we can get a kick returner. Montrell Johnson is someone like that. Phil Maffa. Kyron Lacey. Let's see. I mean, this late round is tough. Who are we picking here? Who are we picking? Brock Taylor. Could be your you got Akine. You're not really picking that. I'm picking, Aubrey Burks. Got some high potential, and then we'll just get buddy from Florida. I think we can get a little kick returner out of him, and we'll just end it with that. And just like that, see what they get. Oh, they gave me an A. Look at that. Yeah, so you start out, like I said, in this draft, if Membo is there, that's the pick, man. I mean, there's no real, we'll see what happens in the draft, but if Membo's there at 13, that's your pick. You don't really need to go anywhere else. Dude is going to be a solid NFL starter, if not a really good guard that you get out of this. Trey Amos in the second round, you get a very high-end guy that really can come in and start at the second cornerback role, and then, with some grooming, probably take over, once Jalen Ramsey is off of contract. Deion Walker, you get your big body inside, high potential guy. If you groom him right, he can definitely be a game wrecker. Ashton Gillott is going to be the guy that's going to be kind of similar to Chop Robinson, where he's got a lot of pass rush moves, needs to put it all together, but once you do get it all together, he's going to be a very good pass rusher. Kyle Williams slips to the fourth round. If you're still in the fourth round and Kyle Williams there, which I don't think that's going to happen, but Kyle Williams there, you're getting a possible number 2, depending on what happens with Tyreek Hill. You're getting a possible number 2 wide receiver to come into the league. He's, 6'1", very smooth. Definitely a good guy to pick up. Tyler Barron is that high potential dude in the 5th round that, again, just like, Ashton Gillott, Chop Robinson, a guy that will be in a NASCAR package. Connor Colby in the 5th round, you get somebody that can possibly make an attempt to start. If not, you groom him right. And, Iowa always produces very good offensive linemen. So I think picking Connor Colby in this, 6'6", 310, you're getting a guy that could possibly get on the field. RJ Mickens, high potential. We'll see what happens. You're just getting another body as well to that safety room. Timothy McKay in the 7th round. I think, if you get Timothy McKay in that 7th round, again, another guy that can possibly come up and start. And then you have, at that point, you have 3 different options at guard. Aubrey Burks is going to be the guy that, high potential player, another body to that safety room. And Elijah Badger got yourself a nice kick returner, I think, decent shifty dude. And like I said, we'll see what happens. Another type of guy that Mike McDaniel definitely likes. So yeah, first round, you're picking Membo. Like I said, if Membo is there, you're picking him. I don't see any other possibility. If Membo gets to you at 13, that's your pick, man. I mean, guy's going to be a really good offensive lineman. You're going to get a guy that can really solidify that offensive line, and will kind of complete the offensive line, where you'll have Austin Jackson, you'll have James Daniels, you'll have Brewer, you'll have Membo, and then you'll have, Patrick Paul. I think, depending on what we do in the second round of free agency, I think Patrick Paul is going to be a pretty solid player in this league, kind of similar to an Austin Jackson. So I think your offensive line gets significantly better from last year. And, like I said, I think he's the pick if he's there. Go in your second round, you get yourself a corner, get yourself an interior defensive end. In those first 3 picks, you kind of pick best player available and picked a lot of your players' needs or your team's needs. And then you're kind of just picking best player available. So we get Kyle Williams. If he falls to the 4th round, I don't know how that's possible, but if he does, then you pick Kyle Williams. I mean, that's a solid pick. You're getting a guy that could possibly become some special in the NFL. And yeah, like I said, you're getting guards, you're getting Connor Colby, you're getting all sorts of players that can possibly have the ability to touch the field this year and make a contribution, and that's what you want from this draft. So like and subscribe if you enjoy these mock drafts, and let me know down in the comments who you would pick up if you would make a different pick in some of these rounds. As always, guys, fins up, baby. Love you all. Peace.